Time for the Burning River Sportscast. It was sunny and warm, and the Browns made the bye week their bitch. That's right, the Browns go another week without a loss, and it's time to take measure of where we find ourselves. Halloween is over, the Browns are rested, and Mariah Carey has officially come out of her summer sarcophagus to spread some holiday cheer. And when the Browns retake the field this week, and we work our way into the holiday season, one thing is for certain. All we want for Christmas is you, to claw yourself somehow, some way back into the playoff picture. And we break it all down for you next on the Burning River Sportscast.
I haven't been clean shaven since I was like 17 years old. Lil Wayne's not surprised.
Once you lose Shailene Woodley,
here we go with this again.
You never win again.
You should never feel bad about cannibalism. Trade deadline's passed, bro.
Well, they should both retire and do the spit and swap.
I don't think that's what you think it is.
Welcome into the Burning River Sportscast presented by Tappan Media. I'm Kenny Thunder alongside the world record holder for the largest kidney stone ever passed, Red Hot Ronnie Jams. Ronnie, give the people what they want and tell them where they can find the hottie, sticky, steamy, creamy, dreamy, and memey all-new content every day from Tappan Media.
Oh, you want to know?
I want to know.
All right.
You want to know?
You can find our podcast. Well, you can find us on social media. You asked for everything, but you can find the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. I'm talking Spotify. I'm talking Apple Podcasts. I'm talking Stitcher. I'm talking Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Pocket Cast, Castro, and more.
Wherever you get your podcasts.
Indeed.
Very nice.
So how was your weekend, Kenny?
The Browns didn't lose.
No chance.
It was nice. This has been like a Browns vacation because we had the Monday night game. So I had 2 Sundays in a row where I didn't have to deal with the Browns losing.
Heart palpitations.
No heart palpitations,
Nice.
no SVT, no anxiety, nothing. So I
always a
feel
good weekend.
About as well rested as a human can be for the
So
first
this
time
was
in a
your
while.
bye week as well.
This was my bye week.
Oh, fair.
I feel a lot better. What about
Nice.
you?
Went well. We just, I think it's kind of getting redundant for me. Every weekend is spent getting ready for the baby. Only a couple weeks left.
Any day now.
Pretty much any day now. My wife is at 37 and a half weeks pregnant, so she's going to pop.
37. You're in the 2-minute drill now.
Oh, yeah. So we're just scrambling, trying to get just the little things in place and ready to go at home. Just some cleaning, some last-minute reorganization, those types of things. But other than that, we just kind of hung out. We're trying to keep her as stress-free as possible, being in the later stages. So, and then also, it's just 6 seasons, so we're trying not to go out too much. And she's got a hospital stay coming up, and babies don't have a real good immune system, so we're trying to stay safe.
Healthcare is such a racket.
That's a topic for another day, my friend.
What's our topic for today, since it's the bye week?
Well, normally, right now, would be the Week 9 recap. But was it Week 9 or was it Week 10? It was Week 9. But we didn't have a game this week, so we're not going to do the Week 9 recap. We're going to do things a little bit differently. You want to know what we're going to do?
What are we going to do?
So this segment's actually going to become kind of our bye week staple every year as we move forward.
It is?
Yeah.
We're cementing that in right now.
Absolutely. I love it. You know what? I'm not even going to give it any more of an introduction. Without further delay, here is Kenny Thunder with your State of the Cleveland Browns address.
That's me.
Madam Speaker, Kenny Stefanik, not head coach of the Cleveland Browns.
Madam Speaker, Madam Vice President, Jimmy, D, Andrew, that D Podesta fella with all the numbers, distinguished members of our front office, and my fellow Browns fans. Last year really got away from us. This year, frankly, hasn't been much better. But tonight, we meet as Clevelanders, Akronites, Cantonians, but most importantly, as Browns fans. With a duty to one another, to our city, and to our favorite sports team. We've weathered terribly difficult off seasons, this one in particular. The clown show that was the NFL's new disciplinary process and subsequent overruling of Judge Sue L. Robinson's decision by perennial D-bag Commissioner Goodell. We've stood tall through the trial and the tribulation and have tried to make the best of it. After all, even with Deshaun suspended, Andy and I have assembled a carefully curated collection of talent strong enough to make even the Justice League blush. Like Nicholas Jamal Chubb walking untouched into the end zone, the inevitability of another NFL season was upon us. And it started with such optimism in the face of absolute self-inflicted chaos. But we did manage to put away Baker and the fledgling Panthers and a subpar version of that team in Pittsburgh to start the season 2-1. With that one lone loss coming to a now 6-3 Jets team, you have to admit, it feels a little better than it did earlier in the season, am I right? Almost feels like a win, baby! October took us to the brink. Every game feeling like a must-win. Falcons blown. Chargers blown. Patriots beat. Ravens blown. 0-4 shut the door. Costly mistakes. Questionable play calling. It hurts. And that's on me. It's got to get better. And it will. We were in every one of those games until I went and wrecked it. We cannot beat ourselves. And we have to get better. And on Halloween, in prime time, I think we could all see the sea change coming. And on the last night in October, we let Cincinnati have it. 4 weeks of misery all exploded in a beautiful orgy of excellence. And we had to let them know. Listen to me when I say we're going to have more orgies. So many more. This wouldn't be a State of the Browns address without taking a moment to stop and analyze our human capital budget. Jacoby, better than advertised. His returns have been consistent week in and week out. Amari has led to a tremendous surplus of quality catches and routes smoother than J-Lo's behind. Miles had some trouble navigating corners early on, but thankfully has corrected course and is back to only wrecking quarterbacks. Nick Chubb. I can't even believe this guy is on our team. No, really, I mean, he's clearly the best running back in the game. And I just absolutely forget sometimes that he exists. Somebody ought to get that guy the ball. The offensive line. We've experienced a few key infrastructure changes, but by and large, and those guys are large, they have been instrumental to several important transportation initiatives like road grading and pipe laying, using a sustainable combination of both cuts and chops that have become fundamental building blocks. Machiavelli would be pleased with the accelerated growth of David Njoku that has tight ends justifying the means. Newcomer MJ Emerson has supplemented an already strong strategic air defense system to help lock down the lake, and we anticipate further mitigation of air raid and West Coast assaults under his stewardship. But as is customary, on an occasion such as this, with so little pomp and circumstance, I do want to take a quick moment of silence to honor the fallen. Swagger, you were the goodest boy of all the goodest boys. R.I.P. I hope me and SJ make you proud from far across that rainbow bridge. I'm not going to lie to you. The rest of the schedule sucks. Truly, madly, deeply. It's not going to get any easier. But here's what I do know. There are Browns backers all over this country, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA. From sea to shining sea, across the pond and back again, and we're going to fight for them. So on this night, in our 76th year as a sports franchise, I have come to report the state of the Cleveland Browns. And my report is this: the state of the Cleveland Browns is strong. It's strong because you, Browns fans, you are strong. And we are stronger today than we were when Baker was here. And we will be stronger a year from now when Deshaun is our quarterback for a whole season. No offense, Jacoby. Now is our time. Our chance to meet and defeat the remaining teams on our schedule and secure a motherfucking playoff berth. And we will. East Siders, West Siders, one city, one team, the Cleveland freaking Browns. May God bless the land, God bless our troops, our mascots, and God bless the Cleveland football Browns.
Wow. That was something. And how did you grow your beard back so fast?
Very carefully.
You must have a lot of testosterone.
So much. I'm a test junkie.
All right. Well, now that that's out of the way, I mean, some very, very, very insightful words from Kenny Thunder?
Stefanik.
Kenny Stefanik?
Kenny Stefanik was here.
Kenny Stefanik. Let's just go ahead and get into the bye-week breakdown part 2.
Yeah.
All right, so let's just start the bye-week breakdown with Andrew Berry.
Andrew Berry.
He had a press conference this week. Had a lot of things to say. A lot of things. He did his own kind of State of the Browns address, if you will. I like to think the Burning River Sportscast State of the Browns was much better.
I mean, the quintessential State of the Browns.
The only State of the Browns address, if you will.
But he did get in on it. There wasn't a ton of like new business or highlights. I thought, he came out and basically said Deshaun's going to start no matter what, which we all kind of knew.
Yeah, I'm glad he said it though, because we've talked about it all season. Like, are these other conversations going to start about Jacoby or what we do with the rest of the year or whatever? I like that he put a definitive. Nope, this is what's happening.
Yeah,
because then everybody we can all put it behind us as far as the speculation, and we can just look forward to him playing and what he's going to do for this team.
I still think if they lose the next 3 games, there's going to be questions there. But
There might be with the fans, but in the back of our heads, we're going to know like he stamped this. So
because he also stamped Baker Mayfield as our quarterback.
No.
Before trading for Deshaun Watson.
No, you're not tricking me there. He may have stamped that, but it was like you could tell it was I have to say this because he's on my team.
But he did say it.
Yeah,
I'm just
we
saying,
all knew that was a different situation. Just shut your mouth.
I'm just saying.
You shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
I'm just saying.
Anyway, so more on Andrew Berry here. He gets a lot of credit for this roster and how great it is on paper. But that hasn't really translated for the season so far. And I think one of the biggest areas where he grossly underestimated was interior defensive linemen and the impact they have on the game.
Yeah, I mean, how much do we miss Sheldon Richardson this year?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's kind of at this point, you look back at the offseason and what do you think about? You think going into the draft, our biggest area of need was defensive linemen, right?
Well, they did bring in Perry and Winfrey.
Yeah, they did. How much has he played?
Not a lot. In fact,
I guess that's not Andrew Berry's fault.
Well, it kind of is. I mean, this guy was a healthy scratch for a couple of games this year just because he couldn't make it to practice and meetings on time.
Oh yeah, so I mean, there's that, but I just think even with that, so that was our main area of concern, and Perry and Winfrey's your big answer. I mean, we didn't do anything else.
But he's a dog.
I mean, he is a dog. He's actually part of our sounder for Dog of the Week, but he has the greatest bark in the game besides me.
And I'm not here to play defense for Andrew Berry. He's a grown ass man. But
you just called him an ass man.
He's a grown ass man.
Wow.
But I think it's an oversimplification to say that was our one area of concern, right? Because there was quarterback and probably wide receiver on that list as well, just in this offseason.
Yeah, well, and funny you should mention wide receiver. That's actually my next one is so those are our 2 biggest glaring needs because you got to take quarterback off of the list. I was talking about going into the draft, so you got to take quarterback off the list because we know we have Deshaun. So wide receiver and interior defensive lineman and wide receiver in that order, I think, were the biggest question marks. And we didn't really do much to address either of them. And we still haven't. Through the trade deadline, through free agency the rest of the way, we haven't done anything to really address those things. And it's starting to show. On the defensive side, we can't stop the run.
Yeah, I mean, Amari has certainly been a nice pickup.
Yeah, outside of Amari. Fantastic pickup.
There was
give credit where it's due.
Expectation that Anthony Schwartz may be able to play the position and can't. David Bell, who we both feel like has a good skill set.
Which, hold on, we can actually go ahead and blow up the Anthony Schwartz one because if you're banking on that guy, I already got problems with you.
Yeah, like you don't need to be a veteran GM to know that he can't catch the football.
No, that dude is garbage.
Hot garbage.
Yeah.
He's bad.
He just doesn't catch anything.
No, he's not good.
But I will say David Bell. I like the David Bell pickup, but then you pick him up in the draft and you get a little bit of help and you haven't given him hardly any opportunities to shine this year. So,
well, and to be fair, David Bell was a later round pick. He wasn't a guy that was a can't miss target. I mean, he was a little bit of a smartest guy in the room pick, right? Here's a guy that doesn't have all the measurables of some of these other guys.
The analytics definitely drove that pick because, we've mentioned it before. You look at his college numbers and
production was good.
Unreal production in college.
On some level, like the fact that you're not the biggest or the fastest or the strongest
or the best route runner.
Like that does matter.
His saving grace, though. He's got some hands.
He does have hands.
He's the Venus flytrap.
And I don't know he's a bad route runner, but I think he's right now average in a lot of those areas.
This is going to pay off one day. Everybody sits here and they're probably thinking, these guys talk an awful lot about David Bell every week. But you just wait.
He'll be a Pro Bowler.
You're going there? I didn't even say it. He's my Venus flytrap, and you're the one that's calling him a Pro Bowler.
Maybe, not this year.
No, he's not going to be anything this year.
But in the next 3 years, David Bell will be a Pro Bowler.
I really think second half of the year, though, I do think that you'll start hearing his name a lot more, especially as Deshaun Watson gets his feet under him and shakes the rust off and starts throwing the ball around.
I sure hope so, because otherwise he's Quincy Morgan.
At least you didn't call him Greg Little this week. But yeah, so I mean, those are a couple areas where I think Andrew Berry has fell short. And I think the biggest question for Andrew Berry going forward, and it's not just, I mean, it wouldn't just be him, it would be any GM that we have at this point, but
But he is the GM at this point.
Yeah, he is the GM. We paid a lot of money for Deshaun Watson, paid a lot of draft picks for Deshaun Watson. So how is Andrew Berry going to navigate the personnel decisions as these big salaries start to hit, and we don't have the money or the draft picks to spend to kind of shore up this team? Like, you're going to have to get creative here.
Well, yeah, I mean, it someday coming up soon, you're going to have to deal with cap questions, and okay, you can hold on to Denzel and Miles, but you're going to start losing the other guys that are role players, that are good role players. Offensive linemen, other defensive backs. Like, you're going to have to make decisions on those guys, and you don't have a lot of draft picks now to create depth.
No, you don't. And you actually bring up a good point. You mentioned Denzel and Miles. I think Myles Garrett is a surefire re-signing. As much as I love Denzel Ward, with his injury problems, does that come back and bite you later?
Well, and Denzel just got extended in the offseason.
That's what I mean.
So,
is that gonna come back to bite you? Is that gonna end up being a bad signing if he can't stay healthy?
it's a great question. I mean, there was talk that he was potentially movable at the trade deadline.
Yeah, I mean, I just wonder. Like I said, I'm a huge Denzel Ward fan. It's the only jersey I've bought in the last 8 years or so. The last one before that, in case anyone was wondering, Trent Richardson.
Yeah.
Literally, like 3 weeks later, he got traded.
I was devastated when they traded Trent Richardson.
Hindsight being 2020, that guy, he's on multiple lists as the worst running back in NFL history.
Like that. Look, and he wasn't good after he got traded.
No, but before he got traded, he was fine.
I mean, he set the Browns rookie rushing record for like touchdowns his rookie year.
To be fair, though, we fed him like we should be feeding Nick Chubb.
True. He had twice as many carries and half the yards.
He literally got like 28 carries a game or something stupid that year. It was ridiculous.
There wasn't a lot around him.
No, and he set the record again. I'll reiterate. I don't think it was quite 28. It was probably more like 25 carries a game. But he only had like 989 yards or something like that.
He didn't crack 1,000.
So,
I was devastated when they moved him. I'm pretty sure that
they made a rule after him. He just lowered his helmet and lowered the boom on the linebacker, and they told the running backs, "You're not allowed to just put your helmet into people's chests anymore."
I'm pretty sure there's a Facebook post out there that would get me canceled as a Browns fan about just my devastation that day.
Fair.
That I was like,
we've all had those. We've all had those posts.
I'm done with this franchise.
We've all had
Trent
those
Richardson's the greatest running back that's ever lived.
But speaking of contract extensions, though, that's what we were talking about. And to get back to it, we talk about what are the big extensions that they've given this year? You're talking about Myles Garrett, or within the last year or so. Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, Nick Chubb,
Njoku,
David Njoku, and Njoku's another one. I really like Njoku. I love that they're finally giving him the chance to shine, and I think that he is so far living up to all of the hype. Besides, he's hurt right now, but before that, he was living up to the hype. But there's still question marks there. Is that one that you look back at in 3 years and you're like, what were we thinking?
And tight end is such a tough position in the NFL.
Oh yeah,
because you have your top tier guys, your Travis Kelce's, and you can even throw in guys like Greg Kittle, and like Kyle Pitts was thought to be this guy, but like he's fallen off this year. So like after Kelce and Kittle, it gets, Waller, I guess, is up there, but after those kind of top tier guys, it falls off quite considerably. And the gap between those guys and the rest of the league is so big.
Hard.
And to justify paying one of those guys that's somewhere on that spectrum is difficult to do.
Yeah, I agree. And it's just one of those things like return on investment. Like where does that fall? Because he's a great player, a great athlete. But at the same time, when it comes to the point where you're like, okay, we need an offensive lineman, or we need a defensive lineman.
Yeah.
Like, could your money have gone much further? Could we have
signed Sheldon Richardson?
Right. So, I mean, I'm just saying there are still, as well as a lot of people like to say Andrew Berry has done. And I'm not saying he's done a bad job. I'm just saying I think there's still some serious question marks out there.
Well, no, I think you're right on. I think that there are all of a sudden question marks because you're a 3-5 football team. And we knew obviously that we didn't have our quarterback coming into this year, but I don't think anybody. I think we all felt like we'd be at least one game better. And
yeah, and if we were, it'd feel so much better.
It would feel so much better.
I mean, we're just under 500 and whatever.
But being 3-5 feels.
Well, I guess you'd be 500 if you were 4-4.
Feels really bad.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of questions all of a sudden and finger pointing going on in Andrew Berry's direction to say, are we building this thing right for the first time? Because up until this point, he's pretty well gotten a pass on everything.
Yep. And if it's so weird because, again, we've talked about this, the analytics, PFF, all these things that do stats, they say that the Browns should have only lost like 2 games this year. But here we are. And to your point, if we had only lost 2 games, nobody'd be saying a word. We'd actually be talking about how brilliant he is.
Right. It is a little bit
but that's
funny
not where we're at.
How fickle we are, because one game would make such a huge difference. I think everybody in the city would feel so
we
much
wouldn't be panicked. Well, because now
better.
you're facing the Dolphins and Bills as your next 2 games. And then who's the last one?
And the Buccaneers.
And the Buccaneers, which
haven't been great this year, but
Tom Brady's
still Tom Brady. Yeah.
So those are your last 3 games before Deshaun Watson comes back, and you have to win 2 of them.
Yeah.
Because if you're any further behind at that point, the Ravens are probably past catching.
So speaking of contracts and Andrew Berry in this offseason, are you picking up Jed Will's option?
I don't. So I'm kind of torn on this. I would say at this point I would actually go with yes. Or I would give him an extension. And hear me out on this. It's not because he's played great. It's because who are you going to get that's better? I mean, you're going to have to pay somebody, and we're not going to have the money to pay somebody. I don't think Jed Wills demands a huge number as far as salary goes at this point.
True.
And I don't think he's terrible. I just don't think he's what we wanted him to be as a first-round pick.
The only thing that I would say is that when he becomes a free agent, some of these free agent deals, and we've talked a little bit about it in the last couple of weeks about the trade deadline and free agency and how the NFL is starting to look a lot more like the NBA.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've seen guys like Christian Kirk get $75 million contracts. And he wasn't a guy that earned it or did anything in the NFL. So if a team is desperate enough and thinks they would kick the tires on that guy for a couple of years, he could very well be gone. But
well, that's right. Do you extend him now while his value is actually pretty low? And I guess that all goes back to how do the coaches feel about him? How does Andrew Berry feel about him? What do the analytics tell you? Because I'm pretty sure PFF grades him pretty low most of the time.
He can't have been graded very high this year. I mean, he's had a lot of games where you look up at the end of the game and go, there was a glaring weakness on the left side.
My favorite are all the things that fans post, and it shows him like running around the field doing nothing.
Yeah, he's just
like,
always,
where was that guy?
He's just always.
I just talked about it last week.
Watching Jacoby get sacked.
Yeah, I just talked about it last week. There was a play in the Cincinnati game where who was it? It was Kareem Hunt got a pitch to the left side, and he just had to get a hat on a hat. Kareem Hunt made his guy miss, and then he ran right into the guy that Jed Wills was supposed to be blocking. Instead, it looked like Jed Wills chip blocked him, turned around, and watched him kill him.
Yeah, he's a real interesting one because of the things that you laid out there.
I'm saying I say this, and then I say I might extend him.
You don't have cap space. That actually makes a lot of sense. On the surface, I would say probably just no, because there's likely someone better. I mean, they did a nice job bringing in Ethan Pochik.
Dude, we've posted about him the last. I mean,
can you find another guy like that somewhere?
No,
that is serviceable as serviceable as Jed.
After Sunday's games, since obviously the Browns were on bye, so his overall grade for the year has not changed. He is now up to second best center in the league.
Yeah, I mean, he's been tremendous.
Yeah, so I mean, I get what you're saying, and it's kind of that strategy, though. I think that's what it comes into play with Jed Wills is, are you going to get somebody better for less money, or do you just extend him for a reasonable amount and hope that he progresses in his career? It's going to be a tough call for them, but for me, for now, I would say to pick up his option and possibly do a shorter term extension, not a long term one. So, what about Deshaun Watson's coming up here?
Yeah,
the countdown is on.
We're here.
The countdown is on.
It felt like 11 games felt like so many games, and now
it feels like it's tomorrow.
It's 3.
It's not, but he's coming back soon. We've got 3 games left. Obviously, we've already talked about how we need to go probably 2-1 in those 3 games before he gets back. But once he gets back, what can we expect, Kenny?
From Deshaun.
In your opinion?
Look, this is hard because the contract was worth $230 million.
Yeah.
So as a human being, as a professional athlete, you'd say there's 230 million reasons why you should come in
guns blazing
and just light this bitch up.
I expect you to throw over 450 yards your first game back.
But there's a human element, which is you haven't played professional football for 2 years.
Yep.
And if it took you 2 or 3 games to get into the flow of an NFL schedule again, especially mid-year, right? All these other guys are in football shape. You're just getting into it.
He's missed all the conditioning. He's missed all just everything.
And I'm sure he's going to be in great shape, right? But we all know there's a huge difference between being in shape as an athlete and being in football shape.
Yeah, once you start taking those hits and everything else on the field, it just feels so much different.
Yeah, so I think that very real human element is understandable to a degree. But you have to balance that with, I don't really care about you necessarily as a human at this point.
Fair.
Because I've given you $230 million to come in and be a quarterback mercenary.
Well, and to that point, most people, it's probably about 50-50, but 50% of the people don't care about him as a human being anyways.
Well, true.
But yeah, I would agree with you. It's tough because I lean towards that, just knowing how football goes and knowing all the things that you just said about rust and how it's going to take some time to get up to game speed and that type of thing. I would lean towards he's definitely going to have a game or two where he just. I don't think he's actually going to look bad. I just think he's going to.
Well, no,
you're going to look at him and be like, it's basically Jacoby Brissett out there.
And that's kind of my fear is that. I do believe that will be the game plan when he comes back into the lineup, which is to mirror a lot of what they've done to this point. And I think Andrew Berry said a little bit kind of during his presser that, look, they're not going to wholesale change the offense for Deshaun Watson mid-season.
No.
That they're running what they run, and they're going to probably have wrinkles here and there for him, which is fine. But
you know what that means? Reverse pass on second down.
So many reverse passes. A direct snap to Njoku, yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're going to hide him to an extent. So whether he is rusty or not, I think might be a little bit hard to discern because I think it's going to be and to be fair, you have Nick Chubb.
You know where we're gonna find out. We've had so many games this year where it comes down to
the final possession,
the final drive.
Yep.
Is Deshaun going to be able to come out and say, look, you guys are protecting me and helping me get back into this, but for one drive, I can be that guy and go out there and throw the ball all over the yard and win this thing for us.
And that's what I think we have to look forward to.
Well, and that's what we're paying him for, right?
Is can he deliver on that one drive, the one that matters?
Yep.
Because this team has proven they can hang with any team in the league outside of the Patriots game, which is Bill Belichick.
I mean, let's be fair. We were all very excited and still very excited that we trounced the Bengals, but they just had an off night. I mean, they're not going to play like that every single week. And they proved it this week. So.
Yeah, but when I think just in general, though, the Browns have proven that they can play up to any opponent on their schedule.
I agree with all that.
All game long.
You could have a bad game.
But, right. But can Deshaun be that? Can he be the unassailable difference at the end of a game when you have 2 minutes and the ball in the 10 and you got to go 90 yards?
It's quite literally, like, people like to talk about his skill set overall, and yeah, you're paying for that, but let's be honest, we're paying $230 million for him to win you games.
Yeah.
In the fourth quarter.
And that's it, right? And that's the whole thing. That's what we all said.
Once we have a quarterback,
we'll go through this off season of hell. We'll go through all the litigation and all the civil suits and Judge Sue L. Robinson taking her time making a decision, and then the commissioner's overruling and his patsy making a decision, all for Deshaun eventually to win football games. Yep. It'll all be worth it when Deshaun wins football games.
It'll be worth it one day. And that day is soon.
Is that day soon?
I hope to God it is. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that there's definitely going to be some rust. I think that's a consensus, and I think that I think he's going to play well after that. I think I'd give it 2 games. That's what I would say.
You can't lose those 2 games, though.
No,
you got to find a way to win those 2 games where he's rusty.
I agree, but I'm hoping there's some rah like.
Are we fooling ourselves a little? Should we just accept?
We're Cleveland. We're probably fooling ourselves.
Should we accept that we're 3-5? Our quarterback hasn't played football in 2 years. He's going to come back and look a little rusty, and by that time, it's going to be way too late.
Listen, we humped the Bengals, and yeah, we're 3-5.
That's all the hope
we could just as easily be 5-3 or better.
Yeah,
but we're not. So. So enough about Deshaun Watson. A couple other good things here. Denzel Ward and Wyatt Teller returned to the practice field today after the bye week. So that's a good sign moving forward. We're getting healthy. And they also designated Jerome Ford and Chase Winovich to return from IR. So,
yeah, I don't know. You know, I'm excited to have Zell back, and certainly Wyatt Teller is a tremendous interior lineman. Jerome Ford is an interesting one because who knows what he's going to look like from a playing time perspective. I do think there's a lot of potential there. And I think Kevin Stefanik would like to use him.
Stefanik.
But I just don't know that the carries are out there.
Stefanik gets his name back this year?
No. Stefanik is Stefanik.
All right.
And I am excited about Winovich coming back because...
Winovich. Everybody says it their own way.
Teach their own. Yeah. I mean, when you think about interior, defensive line, front of a defensive line, we talked about like the areas that we didn't necessarily address with priority, but he was one of those guys that you brought in, and you're hoping that he can exceed expectations. So
right. So I guess if he comes in and he does exceed expectations, then that could just as easily turn into a plus for Andrew Berry. So
or he becomes Greg Little.
Feels bad. Greg Little, big Greg Little, or Greg Little for Browns?
Little Greg Little.
Little Greg Little. Got it. And then last thing here for the bye week breakdown, part 2. Happy birthday, JOK. I saw it roll around social media on 11/4. So there's been a lot of other birthdays during the season, but I saw that one, so I added it.
Speaking of fooling ourselves, are we fooling ourselves that JOK is a linebacker when he's really just a strong safety?
I was going to say, he just seems like a strong safety to me, but maybe.
We're all like, yeah, we love this skill set. He's fast and he can cover. Okay, well, we need him to tackle.
Yeah, sounds like he's a strong safety.
And we need him to be durable.
I don't know. But that'll take us to this week's Burning River Sportscast Dog of the Week. All right, so I know we didn't have a game this week.
No, it was a bye week.
It was a bye week, so you may be asking yourself, how do we have a Burning River Sportscast Dog of the Week? Well, I'll tell you how. We thought it was worth recognizing this individual for an off-the-field accomplishment. So without further ado, Wyatt Teller.
Wyatt
Teller was nominated for the NFL Salute to Service Award. Teller's father, Rick, is a retired Army Reserve major, and Wyatt supports the Green Beret Foundation. So as part of that foundation, he helped deliver a $50,000 grand prize to a servicewoman last year. And he says it's easy to support the military and veterans because, quote, these people are the ones who are putting their lives on the line for us and for what our society believes is right. So fans will help determine the 3 finalists on a fan vote at NFL.com/salute-fan-vote. And you can vote once per day. So you know what to do, Browns fans.
Get out there and vote. Wyatt needs your votes. That'll pick the top 3.
That's a good dog.
That's a good dog. That's a good hot dog of the week.
Oh, man. Good job, Wyatt Teller.
And thank you for your service, Mr. Teller.
Thank you.
All right.
You know what it's time for?
What's it time for?
It's time for the Burning River Sportscast Hot Take Hotline.
Hot Take Hotline. So we did have some calls come in.
We did?
And we picked the best ones.
Let's hear them.
You want to hear some calls?
Let's take a call.
All right.
Well, let's take a voicemail, I guess.
Let's take.
We don't actually take your calls. We'll listen, though.
Yeah, it's go straight to voicemail. So you don't got to actually talk to Ronnie or I if you call the Hot Take Hotline.
That's the wrong number if you want to actually talk to us.
Yeah. So first up on deck.
Long-time listener, first-time caller, Shane and Jess here from Cortland, Ohio. # Go Browns. Real simple to win the game. 1, give the ball to Chubb. 2, Chubb scores. Wash, rinse, repeat. And that's, in my opinion, how you get a full Chubb. Go Browns!
Well, there you have it. I mean,
that's how you get a full Chubb.
First of all, long-time listener. He's been with us since the beginning, huh?
Since the beginning.
We're on season 1, episode 10.
Since the inception of the show. We appreciate your following.
Thanks, Shane. He also said in there, step 1, give Nick Chubb the ball. Step 2, Nick Chubb scores. Step 3, wash, rinse, repeat. I mean,
it doesn't get any simpler than that.
Listen, even every caller that we have so far, which is
every caller that calls the Hot Take Hotline knows
that you run Nick Chubb. That's how you win games. Also, I heard Shane and Jess from Cortland at the beginning of that, and Jess popped in at the end to say "Go Browns." So, go Browns indeed.
Go Browns. # Go Browns. He hashtagged his own phone call.
Thanks for the call.
Nice.
How do you hashtag a phone call?
I don't know, but who do we have on deck next?
Let's hear it.
This is Lulu from Greene, Ohio. Thank you, Kevin, for finally running the damn ball. We got 8 points. 7 on the run and extra 2 on the run. Way to go, Kevin.
All right.
Some questionable math there.
What a name, man. Lulu. There was questionable math, though. First, it was 8 points, and then it was 7 points on the run and 2 points on the run.
But, of course, we know she's talking about the direct snap to Nick Chubb for a touchdown.
I mean, fair. I don't like the direct snap call, but I like the call to give it to Nick Chubb.
And then when they had the penalty on the extra point, they went ahead and made the analytics decision to go for it from the 1, and they said, who do we get the ball to?
Nick Chubb.
Nick Chubb.
Who else?
Who else?
Unless you're going from the 1, you could go Jacoby Brissett sneak. That works almost every time.
Works almost every time. But I'm never,
except for that one time that it didn't work.
But I will never complain about giving Nick Chubb the ball.
No, absolutely not.
I don't. Even if he gets stopped, I don't care.
So it's weird. So now we're up to 2 callers, and they're basically giving Nick Chubb the ball.
Both callers. Every caller that calls the Hot Take Hotline knows.
I like the heat too. You finally gave Nick Chubb the damn ball.
She brought the aggressiveness.
We need more of that.
Need some more aggressive calls.
All right, who else we got?
This one is very special to me.
Oh. Kenny Thunder is our call screener, in case anyone was wondering.
Hi, Kenny. This is your mom. I think that if every player played like Myles Garrett, we would be in the Super Bowl year after year. I think that you and Ronnie should vow, if the Browns win tonight, to be clean-shaven until the playoffs, or until they don't make the playoffs. Okay, bye.
Wait.
Bro, your mom called.
So are we supposed to shave or not shave?
It got crazy there at the end, but I think she said if the Browns win tonight, which it's a bye week,
Well, she was obviously calling during the Monday night game.
I know. So they did win, and I'll tell you this, Tina, I haven't been clean shaven since I was like 17 years old. So
I shaved clean for my wedding.
I didn't.
No, you did not.
No. So that's not going to happen. But we do appreciate the call. And
we do agree that on that Monday night game, Myles Garrett did play lights out.
Oh, if everybody plays like Myles Garrett played on Monday night against the Bengals,
yeah,
we would win a Super Bowl.
Kind of like Baker Mayfield against the Bengals.
They can't beat him.
If they had played him the whole game, they would have been in trouble.
Yeah, but we'll get to that. So that's it. I mean, that's the cause that we have this week.
That was our first iteration
of the Burning River Sportscast Hot Take Highlight. Hot Take Highlight. We're excited about it.
330-227-8080.
No, go. Do it.
Did you just fart?
No, go.
330-227-8080. 330-227-8080.
330-227-8080. 330-227-8080.
Call us
now.
Phone lines are open.
All right. So let's go ahead.
And it's toll free. I don't know. I don't even know what that means. It doesn't cost you anything.
Everything's toll free nowadays. What are they talking about? Let's get into the division roundup. We'll keep it short and sweet this week because both the Browns and the Steelers were on bye. So we only had 2 games. So Cincinnati defeats Carolina. Baker and the boys. Well, it was Baker and the boys after halftime, but we'll talk more about that later. Here's the deal. Panthers, trash. We both picked that right pretty easily.
Yeah, that one wasn't hard to pick.
Yep. So, and then we had Baltimore, but Baltimore plays tonight.
They play Monday Night Football.
It's actually starting as we speak right now. So we'll add this game to next week's update. And that is it for the division roundup.
And that is it. Who does Baltimore have tonight? New Orleans.
Saints.
That's right.
Yep. Oh, when the Saints go marching in.
And we both picked Baltimore in this game.
When the Saints go marching in.
And we both picked Baltimore in this game.
We did. We did both pick Baltimore.
I think this could be an interesting game.
I think we both picked Baltimore.
I really need Baltimore to play lights out, though, and lose because my fantasy
so the Browns can catch up,
team
but your fantasy team
depends
wins.
on it.
Fair. All right, so enough of that. Let's go ahead and take a trip around the NFL.
Right back to Cincinnati and the Panthers.
Yeah, all that just to start with Cincinnati versus the Panthers. So I'm going to start with this. We just absolutely trashed Joe Mixon on the show last week.
Do we have to apologize?
Yeah, for being mediocre. Here's the deal. He went off this week. And when I say he went off this week. Joe Mixon with 5 total touchdowns, 4 rushing and 1 receiving. And he had like 49 fantasy points at halftime.
Yeah.
I think he finished with like 64 or something like that.
Yeah, I think they were saying like the record for running backs or for anyone to have touchdowns in a game was 6. I mean, outside I think quarterbacks is 7. But
yeah, just an unreal game from that guy. And I will say this though, I still think he's overrated. It was against the Panthers, man.
It was against the Panthers, and this
really got something stuck in my throat right now.
This is the aberration, right? Like,
yeah,
he doesn't do this every week.
We actually said every once in a while he'll have a big game, but for the most part,
so I'm taking my apology back.
We take it back.
You're still trash.
You suck. All right. So on the Carolina side of things for this one, Baker did get into the game. We thought we were done with Baker, but he did get into the game after halftime because PJ Walker starts 3 of 10 for 9 yards and 2 picks.
Yeah, and I would say, because the Browns weren't on, and it was just a weird week with the way the schedule fell. There weren't a lot of games on TV. This was one of them, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was. It was unfortunate.
So
it's not fun to watch.
Like, as this game was going on, and PJ Walker is just trashing up the trash bin. I'm getting texts I'm seeing on Twitter, and everybody's like, "Oh, this guy's so bad, and Baker's not even getting a look." And I'm just like, dude, if this Steve Wilks is not considering a quarterback change at halftime.
Like you have to.
He's gonna be the only interim coach to get fired. Interim in his interim.
9 yards. He threw for 9 yards
and 2 picks.
That's unbelievable. And I will say this: I feel really bad for PJ Walker, just for the simple fact that they finally, he beat the GOAT. And they ran some stories on PJ Walker got interviewed, and he's like, I vowed that if I got another shot in the NFL, I would make the most of it. And he went 3 of 10 for 9 yards.
That's not making the most of it.
I apologize, PJ Walker. I'm sure you're a nice individual, but if you're 3 of 10 for 9 yards, and you making the most of your opportunity, then you should not be on an NFL field.
Here's the biggest problem is Steve Wilkes, because if you're Steve Wilkes and you want to win one football game, you have a quarterback on your roster that just doesn't lose to the Bengals. Yeah. So why you would not consider why you were so staunch in your PJ Walker's our guy? No, you have a quarterback that literally happened
to be playing the AFC North,
lose to Cincinnati, and Baker came in and. The game was over at that point, but still, he came in and did what they asked of him.
Yo, dog.
He made it respectable.
Wilkes, he ain't won it.
No, he ain't won it.
Baker, let's be honest. He was efficient.
Yeah, he came in and they scored on his first drive in.
14 of 20 for 155 yards and 2 touchdowns.
And he led another touchdown drive before the end of the game, too.
But, it didn't matter because the Bengals were already humping them at that point.
I'm just saying the Cincinnati Bengals are very lucky that Steve Wilkes didn't play Baker Mayfield the whole game.
And he's going to stand by that forever.
And Baker may get the start next week and he'll be trash again.
Oh, yeah.
But this week was his week.
So here's some fun stats from that game, or a fun stat from that game. At the half, the Bengals had 35 points and the Panthers had 32 total yards. So there's that. After the game, interim head coach Steve Wilkes fired 2 more coaches. Cornerbacks coach Evan Cooper and defensive line coach Paul Pasqualone.
See you, Paul.
Both get the boot.
Both of them.
Just an absolute shit show in Carolina here. And to make matters worse, it was confirmed on Sunday that the Packers had offered a first-rounder for DJ Moore, and the Panthers did not take it. In the middle of a rebuild, the Panthers did not take a first-rounder for DJ Moore.
Yeah, that
What? Which, let's go ahead and say the Packers obviously are desperate, but...
Here's the other thing I saw this week about the Panthers.
Let's hear it.
They did the top 5 most expensive NFL teams to go and see.
Yeah.
And the Panthers.
They were like number 5 or
number 5.
Yeah.
It's like $100 average for a ticket and $100 for parking and like $15.
Probably going to do wonders for their attendance.
How you can charge that much and get away with it. And it's not even like they have a brand spanking new stadium and like a bunch of cool shit to do during the game. Like that stadium's been there for a minute.
And they're the Panthers. They can't even decide if they're from North Carolina or South Carolina. They're just the Carolina Panthers.
True. I do like that powder blue though.
They got cool colors. But you mentioned,
but it hasn't been cool since
you mentioned
Cam was
Wilkes
there.
possibly getting fired, first interim coach to get fired. But while we're talking about coaches getting fired, the Colts fire Frank Reich.
Oh yeah, Burning River
Started 3-5-1, and he is out of there.
That was a bit of a surprise. Obviously 3-5-1 isn't good.
Well, you don't help yourself when just last week you're like, you know what, Matty Ice, you're done.
True.
We're gonna go with Ellinger the rest of the way.
Yeah, and he looked bad. Whew.
No, he was. He didn't look bad. He was bad. He was god awful. And
I do like that Jeff Saturday's been named the NFL.
Oh, that's awesome. I love Jeff Saturday.
He's just one of those guys we kind of grew up with because of Peyton Manning.
Yep.
And you just got used to seeing the shot.
He always had the best things to say. I liken him to like Joe Thomas for Browns fans. Like he was just always an everyman, if you will. Like you felt like you could go have a beer with him and hang out.
I'm sure he's beloved in that city.
Yeah. So Jeff Saturday is the interim head coach. Does that mean the return of Matty Ice? Does it? I want to know.
Strong words from a strong man. I don't know. Probably. Like
I would say you have to. With as bad as Ellinger looked, he's done, right?
A bad Matty Ice is probably still better than the best.
Wasn't he still throwing for decent yards
Sam
and stuff when he was
Ehlinger.
playing? Like, he was throwing a lot of picks and stuff, but that's always been his MO. He throws picks, but he throws for a lot of yards.
Look, he lost the Super Bowl after being up 28-3.
Man, you had to bring it up again.
It just does. You don't come back from that.
Even if Matty Ice wants to live that down, nobody will let him, including Kenny Thunder.
Never.
Lightning strikes again. In other bad team news, the Raiders suffer another major collapse. They were up 20-7 at halftime, 17-0 before that, but 20-7 at halftime, and ended up losing 27-7.
You know, the problem is
That math doesn't work. I wrote the wrong number there.
where's Lulu from Green?
I learned from her. No, they were up 20-7 at halftime, ended up losing 27-20. In the third time this season that they've blown a big lead like that. So
The death knell was, I looked up at halftime and I was like, oh, the Raiders are going to get one.
bro, some of the memes that are starting to come out of there, just the faces that like Carr makes it when they're like, they have him like with a happy face before that when they're up, and then he's like devastated when they're losing. And it's literally happened 3 times where they've been up by like 20 points.
Can we
and
get a picture of Derek Carr actually up here? I swear this dude wears eyeliner. I don't know why you would wear eyeliner to a football game. Look, I know it's 2022, gender, all this. I don't care.
He also looks like
but
Sid from Toy Story.
He looks like he's getting ready to audition for Pirates of the Caribbean.
Can you finagle that? Can you get Sid from Toy Story up there as well? Just
Derek, Sid.
Pirates of the Caribbean, Sid.
Johnny Depp. on a loop.
Okay. So yeah, after the game, Davante Adams said though, he says there's no reason why we should be losing games like this, bro. In Cleveland, we feel you. We get it. We understand.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel bad for anybody because of what we've been through. So put the paper bags on your heads.
Did he watch the Jets game?
Have a good time and just enjoy the ride.
Yeah. So it's, I mentioned Davante Adams.
And he had a huge game before that, by the way.
He always has huge games.
I mean,
they still lose. I mean,
massive
He's up
numbers.
to 840 yards in the season, which is pretty good season so far through 8 games.
He was hot.
But yeah, let's talk about his old pal, Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. Lose to the Lions. This is a new low for the Packers, I think.
It's just
15-9, in case anyone was wondering what the score was.
every week we're surprised when like Tom Brady loses and Aaron Rodgers loses, but I think this is the new norm, right? It's their
COVID saying, I like it.
their
The new normal.
was not intended to be. But I think we have to stop being surprised.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Here's what I am surprised about. Aaron Rodgers threw 2 red zone picks in the same game for the first time in his career.
I think we have to stop being surprised.
I guess so. Lil Wayne's not surprised. Lil Wayne tweeted, RIP to the season. And he said that the Packers should have gotten rid of 12 before the season started.
Could have got Sam Ehlinger.
Man, can you put that tweet up there? But yeah, I mean, Rodgers after the game, he just sounded absolutely defeated. Like he knows that the team is garbage and there's nothing he can do about it. And his quote was, I hope we just find a way to dig deep I hope we find a Jesus, I can't say this. I hope we just dig deep and find a way. Translation, we suck bad.
Once you lose Shailene Woodley,
Here we go with this again.
you never win again.
Oh my gosh. And then on the opposite side of things, after the game, Dan Campbell, coach for the Lions, said they asked him how he felt, and he said, "Be honest with you, I'm exhausted. I want to go home and drink a beer." So
Yeah. That guy seems fun.
yeah,
He seems like a good hot dog of the week.
he's not a hot dog of the week. We won't give that to him. But yeah, I think it's safe to say that when the Packers let Adams walk, everyone lost. Aaron Rodgers went into the desert and smoked Halahuska or whatever the hell it's called. The Packers are trash, and now he just looks defeated. Davante Adams' team can't close out games, and he's losing. And we all have to watch the poor football and this just terrible display that they're both putting on week after week. So everybody loses.
Everyone loses.
Yeah.
Not good.
Which brings me to another legendary quarterback on a terrible team. Tom Brady. They did get a win this week. A win.
A Winovich.
They got a win this week. Tom Brady tops 100,000 passing yards. The first quarterback to do it.
Way more impressive than the win this week.
Yeah, that's incredible.
100,000. I mean, that's Madden numbers. That's like
play
a whole career with a player in a video game.
You might not even be able to do that because they start diminishing. And you're like, I got to get a new quarterback now.
They would probably surprise retire before you could do it.
Ah, dang. He also, in this game, passed Peyton Manning for the most game-winning drives in the NFL since 1970. He has 55 now. So
it's an impressive
number. He threw that game-winning touchdown with 9 seconds left to Cade Otton. Bro, this dude's name is C. Otton. He's Cotton. He just threw a touchdown pass to Cotton.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
And I know they won, but the Buccaneers, still trash, but Tom Brady's the GOAT. He's got a lot of Super Bowls.
Are they 4-5 now?
They're 4-5. They're better than the Browns.
Better than the
Browns.
As of
right now, but I still think they're trash.
A lot of teams are better than the Browns.
Fair. A lot of teams are worse than the Browns.
A lot.
A few. But like I said, Tom Brady's still the GOAT, and he has lots of Super Bowls. And speaking of Super Bowls, the defending Super Bowl champs have the wheels coming completely off right now.
They just need OBJ back. They'll be fine.
Funny you should mention him. We'll get to him in a second. After the latest loss, Sean McVay comes out and says changes have to be made.
Maybe they need to trade Matt Stafford for Jared Goff.
Trade deadline's passed, bro.
Well, they should both retire and do the spit and swap.
I don't think that's what you think it is, but yeah.
Like the spit handshake.
Yeah, whatever you say, bro.
Shake on it.
Whatever you say. Somebody's been spending a little bit too much time on the hub.
Oh, no.
But yeah, what? Speaking of Matt Stafford, though, what the hell happened to Matt Stafford?
Dude, he doesn't have OBJ.
Like, does this have more to do with him getting old and just finally he's just like, I'm old, man, I can't do this? Or is it the offensive coordinator just decided he wasn't going to show up anymore?
They won the Super Bowl last year. They didn't all of a sudden get bad last year. He doesn't have OBJ.
That's it. That's the only reason.
They don't have a running game. Their running back just like up and spit swapped him.
Bro, that guy just is that who it is?
Yeah,
Cam Akers just decided, I don't want to play football anymore. I mean, I'll play, but I'm not a real football player.
Not for you.
Yeah. What the hell, man? So staying with the Rams, though, you mentioned OBJ. OBJ later this week will be cleared to play football after his injury. And Von Miller put on his Instagram story a pic of him and OBJ with a clock emoji saying, it's time. Time for the Burning River Sportscast.
Tick-tock, tick-tock.
Okay, they said it's time to sign OBJ. But I don't know if they're going to. It's been a while. And I could think of a few other teams that probably are scrambling to sign him as well.
Did you put the Browns on this list?
Yeah, the Rams, the Packers, the Browns, and there's probably more. You don't think there's a possibility?
Oh, man. I mean,
as much as they hated Baker and shipped him out, if that was actually the reason why there was so much animosity, you don't think there's a chance they bring him back?
There were guys, I mean, I don't remember who it was, John Johnson or one of them was tweeting about bringing him back earlier in the year.
Yeah, I mean,
so I guess it's not totally impossible.
John Johnson, get on your tweeter twatter again. Start tweeting him and telling him.
Spit swap on your tweeter twatter.
Yeah. Bring him back, bro. We need to start recruiting.
Yeah.
I mean, we need a receiver, right?
We do need a receiver.
And at most, what are you going to do? You're going to sign him for the rest of the year.
At 3-5, I guess, whatever. Bring him back. Bring him back. Bring him back.
Okay. Who else do we got to talk about here? Justin Fields. Justin Fields had a day, huh?
That was quite a shootout.
Yeah. You just talked about how Justin Fields wasn't really anything in the NFL last week. So, he came out and rushed for 178 yards and a touchdown and passed for 3 more touchdowns. He set the record for rushing yards by a quarterback and also became the only player in league history with 175 yards rushing and 3 passing touchdowns.
Did they win?
What does that do for you?
Did they win?
Let's not talk about whether they won or not. And they did not.
And what's their record?
They lost to the Dolphins. So that felt bad. But Justin Fields played well.
I think it's his best game as a pro.
Yeah. I mean, here's the deal too. In Chicago, he doesn't have any help at all. He literally tried to put the team on his back and say, "I'm going to win this game by myself."
It still wasn't enough,
and it wasn't enough.
Look, I like Justin Fields. I'm not anti Justin Fields. I just think
say what you want.
I just think there are better quarterbacks than Justin Fields in this league.
I think there's definitely better quarterbacks, but I think it's too early to tell with Justin Fields because he hasn't had any help.
But I will say that the gap from the best quarterbacks to like the middle of the pack quarterbacks now, it seems to be shrinking by the day, given the fact that Matt Stafford doesn't look like Matt Stafford, that Tom Brady doesn't look like Tom Brady, that Aaron Rodgers doesn't look like Aaron Rodgers. Guys like Matty Ice have fallen off completely. Matty Ice was a perennial like top 10, 12 guy statistically.
I feel like even Lamar Jackson put up huge numbers to start the season. He's cooled off.
Yeah, he had a really great start to the season and hasn't done a whole lot. I mean, he looked bad against the Browns.
It's because our defense under Joe Woods is so phenomenal.
So strong.
But yeah, so after the game, like I said, the Dolphins won, and after the game, Tyreek Hill reiterated that Tua is the best in the league, baby. He's the most accurate QB in the league. Know that. Unquote.
Like, are we coming to a day where Justin Fields and Tua Tagovailoa are in the top 10 quarterbacks in the league?
I think we might be. Hopefully Deshaun's there with them. We'll see.
I don't know.
We'll see.
Everything that's old is not new again.
What was once old is now new. I don't know. There's an adage in there somewhere.
What is old is starting to look old in this NFL.
Make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver and the other's gold. I don't know. But anyways, Tyreek Hill becomes the first wide receiver to hit 1,000 yards this season. And Miami's pretty good, man. Miami's pretty good, man. You got anything to say about Miami being good? All right, let's continue with good teams. Enough about the bad ones. The Jets and the Bills.
Wait, the Jets are now in the good teams conversation?
Yeah, they beat the Bills, man. The Jets beat the Bills.
It was clean.
It was clean.
This was
before we get into all that, let's just start with the delay of game because the sky cam fell out of the sky.
It did. It sure did. It fell out totally out of the sky, and they were running cables back and forth trying to make sure it didn't get wrapped around anyone's neck.
I just like all the shots of like all the players and coaches, and everybody's just sitting there like, what the hell is happening right now? They're just staring at it. Like
you don't account for the sky cam not being in the sky.
Good thing it didn't fall out of the sky completely and like kill somebody.
Yeah, it could have fell on someone. That's true.
That would have been bad.
Because that thing probably has to weigh 200 or 300 pounds. Like, it's a big rig.
It takes 3 heavy-duty cables to hold it up. So, yeah, I'm sure it is big.
Danger.
Yeah, danger. But anyways, the Jets beat the Bills in this one, and apparently the Jets are for real. Look, man, I got to do it.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I kind of have to.
No. I still don't accept it.
At this point, I think I have to take them out of the trash bin.
I just think the Bills maybe aren't as good as we thought they were.
No. They're my Super Bowl pick. I'm sticking with them. Anyways.
I'm not saying the Bills are bad. I'm just saying.
You shut your mouth.
I think going into this week,
it's hard to win in the NFL.
I think there was talk that like the Bills were unbeatable.
I don't think that. I think that the Jets had a good game, and the Jets are showing that they're better than trash.
Here's the thing. Zach Wilson is still their quarterback.
That's fair. But on the other side of it,
the team around him does appear to be growing and getting better, but he's still the quarterback and he is trash.
Listen, on the other side of this thing, right? The series of takes that we had earlier this season have really not aged well. But to be fair, we weren't the only ones with these takes. With this week's win, the Jets have officially passed their projected win total for the season of 5.5. And they've only played 8 games or 9 games or whatever the hell they're at.
Look, the Jets are trash. Zach Wilson's their quarterback.
Yeah, I'm sticking with it. The Jets are trash.
And, like, they don't even...
I took them out of the trash bin and I'm putting them back in. Jets, trash.
Yeah, they're bad. Look, the Jets are trash.
Tyler Conklin did come out and say, though, guess what? We're not the same old Jets. You're trash, bro.
You're trash, bro.
Your brother's cool, though.
Your quarterback
is it brother or cousin?
Is Zach Wilson.
The other Conklin. on our team.
Are they related?
I think they're related. I'm pretty sure they're like brothers.
Okay, they're like brothers. They did the old spit swap.
That's my brother right there. Anyways, one of our favorite sayings on the show is from Kirk Cousins. You like that? You like that? You like that? You say it a lot. And the crowd in Washington this week was chanting it at him as they were playing. And then after the game, he resurrected it and he said it right back. You like that? You like that? And bro, they won again. And they're 7-1 and have a 4.5 game lead in the NFC North. And did you see?
Wait. The Vikings are 7-1.
They're 7-1.
No,
and have a 4.5 game lead in the NFC North.
I don't even believe you.
7-1.
Is that real?
7-1. Yeah, look at the. Oh man, yeah, yeah. He's making a face on the podcast. You can't see it. You got to catch the video version for that. But yes, they are 7-1. But regardless, did you see him on the plane ride back to Minnesota? Did you see those? Just shirtless, about 20 chains on, looking about as out of place as you can imagine.
Kirk Cousins is my hero.
But I'll be honest, man, they got reason to party. 7-1 with a 4.5 game lead in the NFC North. They might have this thing wrapped up by week 12.
I don't know, just because they haven't played on primetime a lot, so like I haven't been paying attention to them.
7-1.
And we haven't played their division, so
yeah.
What? 7-1?
Yeah. Yeah.
What is this NFL this year?
I have no idea. But let's go ahead and finish up with the Sunday night game. Tennessee versus the Chiefs. Tennessee led most of the game, but blew it in the end. Mahomes threw 68 passes. He almost put up a 70 spot on him.
This was a death knell again for me, because I texted you with 8 minutes left in the game, and I was like, yeah, Tennessee's going to maybe win this game.
Yeah.
Nope.
So Patrick Mahomes threw 68 passes. In comparison, Malik Willis, who was starting for an injured Ryan Tannehill, threw 16, which ties which I can't even believe that this ties a record. This ties the biggest discrepancy as far as passing attempts between two starting quarterbacks in NFL history. Did somebody else throw 68 passes? Holy shit.
Malik Willis is bad.
Really bad.
I mean, at the end of that game, he couldn't find a receiver to save himself.
Dude played for Liberty.
He's just busy with Jerry Falwell and his lady.
Yeah.
I'm just watching him at the end of that game. And to be fair, when they did show the all 22 overhead shots, there weren't a lot of opportunities or separation being created by his receivers.
No.
And some of those were 2-man routes. And so I think their offense right now is probably a little bit vanilla.
Well, that's what you get, Tennessee, for letting A.J. Brown walk away or trading him or whatever the hell you did.
Can you imagine? I was thinking this during the game last night, was you go from A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. And I know that Julio didn't do a lot last year, was hurt a lot, but think about the beginning of the year.
He'd be the number one receiver on their team this year.
Thinking about the beginning of the year last year when they're going, shit, we got AJ, we got Julio Jones,
yeah,
Tannehill's
not bad
in the playoffs every year.
Yeah.
To who even are their receivers now? And Malik Willis, he's not even throwing the ball. He just runs around back there until he gets tackled.
Like a chicken with his head cut off.
He's
like, oh, God, they're coming. I can't see anything that the defense is doing because I don't read defenses because I was at Liberty.
Like a really bad Pee Wee football game. He's just running in circles back there until someone takes him down.
The only reason that they're a respectable football team is because they have Derrick Henry. And which, we talked about that last week. Old sexual chocolate in the flesh.
Mark Henry.
No, Derrick Henry, though, again, rushed for 115 yards in this one. He has officially overtaken Nick Chubb for the league lead in rushing.
Rushing yards.
Yeah. But I will say this. He also has 2 games worth of carries more than Nick Chubb.
Well, and he has a whole game on Nick Chubb because of the bye.
Yeah. With that being said, though, he was being interviewed today, and they asked him, the opening was, how's the greatest running back on the planet? And Derrick Henry's response, that's Nick Chubb.
On this season, Derrick Henry, 183 rush attempts, for 870 yards, 9 touchdowns.
Yep.
Nick Chubb, 149 rush attempts.
So is that 40 less carries?
40 less carries. 34. 841 yards. So it's
35 less carries, 34
yards,
less carries, and you have 29 less yards.
and 10
You
touchdowns.
could average negative yards
10
and
touchdowns.
still be winning. Or something. I don't know. My math was bad on that. Lulu strikes again. But either way, I liked that he gave Nick Chubb the shout out in his interview. He said, no. The
game recognizes game.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. Oh, and I forgot one for this week. Khalil Mack had an absolutely filthy strip in the Chargers game that completely changed the game for them, led to points on a turnover, and they won by 4. So won by 3. So I had to throw that one out there.
Last week, Miles had a dirty sack. This week, Khalil had a filthy strip.
Filthy strip sack. It wasn't a strip sack; it was just a strip, but it was pretty filthy. But that'll do it for Week 9, aka Browns bye-week bonanza coverage. So let's go ahead. Yeah, let's go ahead and take a quick revenue break, and then we'll get into the Week 10 preview. Towpath Distillery, the newest craft distillery in Northeast Ohio, located in Akron and family owned. Towpath Distillery focuses on high quality spirits carefully made in small batches. Towpath's lineup includes an ultra smooth, award winning premium vodka, a small batch silver rum made from the highest grade molasses, an American craft gin made with 9 botanicals, and a blended straight bourbon made from corn and rye. Towpath Distillery. Visit towpath-distillery.com to find an agency near you where the spirits are available, and make sure to ask your local bartender and restaurateur. Towpath Distillery. Handcrafted, small batch, local, and family owned. And did you know Towpath Distillery has a double release coming up soon?
I don't know the specifics. Can you give me the deets?
I can give you the deets. The deets are this. There's a double release coming up for Towpath Distillery on November 22nd. They're releasing a holiday spiced rum that's 80 proof like their white rum. And then a red wine barrel finished bourbon. And that's 100 proof. So that's a little souped up from the 94 proof that their standard bourbon offering comes in at. So, and another fun fact about the red wine barrel finished bourbon, it is finished in the wine barrels that the Piscazzi family uses to make their family wine. Anthony Piscazzi is the owner of Towpath Distillery, and they've been making this. It's an old family tradition of theirs. They've been making this wine for years and years and years. So he took one of the old barrels that was used in the last, I think it was last year's batch, and he's finishing up some of the bourbon in it. So
Interesting.
Yep. So think Angel's Envy. That's the one that everybody knows about. I hate mentioning them by name, but everybody knows who Angel's Envy is. It's that wine barrel finish bourbon. Angel's Envy was the first one to do it, and Towpath's going to be much better.
Just keep saying their name.
Towpath Distillery. Available, just so you guys know, these special releases are available only at Distillery, and they make the perfect holiday gifts for all the spirit lovers out there. Get some.
Get some.
All right, so let's get into the Week 10 preview. I'm just going to keep adding new, weird sound effects and voices. And
I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
I like to get the people what they want. Something.
Yeah, give it to the people.
Give the people what they're looking for.
Give it to them again.
This week, Browns at Dolphins.
We got a game this week.
We do.
We're back, baby.
We are back.
We are back with a matchup preview.
All right. So what are we going to do? Position matchups, or you want to do some opposition research? I ask you every week because I never know how you want to start this thing.
Yeah, I think we can jump right into the positions. I mean, I think the opposition research here is solely on Tua and
the passing attack.
If he plays, their passing game is really good. And if he doesn't,
I don't think there's really a question right now. He's not banged up anymore, is he? Well, you're just talking about in general.
Just in general, yeah. I mean, if he were to come out of the game, I think it changes their everything they do considerably.
So you're telling us if we hurt
I mean, I'm not advocating for the bounty program.
It sounds like you might be.
But I'm just saying, I think this it's a little bit like prepping for the Bengals game.
Would you give them a bottle of Towpath if they
just before the game?
Hey, go ahead and go out there and help us win this game.
Yeah, I mean,
shot
murder for hire.
Don't do that. That's bad.
But it's a little bit like prepping for
Get
the
you
Bengals,
fired.
that Bengals game. Like I think the Bengals kind of go as Joe Burrow goes.
Fair.
And Joe Burrow didn't go.
He didn't go
any better than Jacoby did. So
yeah,
I think this game is going to be similar. If Tua plays the whole game and plays well, it could be very difficult for the Browns. If he comes out of that game for any reason, it changes everything they do.
That's fair. So here's the position matchups that I wanted to highlight for this one. Number 1, Browns secondary versus Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Tyreek Hill, as we just mentioned a few minutes ago, first wide receiver over 1,000 yards this year, and that dude is so fast.
Tyreek?
Yeah, he's so fast.
Yes, so fast.
So fast. And he seems to have a really great connection with Tua. I mean, he's been talking him up since before he even got there. And, I mean, it's been phenomenal this year.
They have a weird bromance going on.
They do. They do. And then on the other side, you got Jalen Waddle, who runs great routes. He's tough to defend one-on-one. Doesn't get as much attention because Tyreek's on the other side of him. And he has one of the best celebrations in the game, bro. The old Waddle. He does the waddle after every touchdown.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Later on, do you think you could get me in? Can I jump on the green screen? You think you could green screen me in doing the waddle with Jalen Waddle?
I can try.
Fair. If he can do it, it'll be in.
If you can get me a clip of Jalen doing the waddle.
All right. I'm in. But yeah, so I mean, we got to kind of watch what's going on with the secondary and these receivers because we got Denzel Ward back. The secondary has stepped up the last few weeks since he's been back. And I speculated last week, what are they going to do when he comes back? Are they going to rely on him to kind of be that number one guy and relax a little bit? Or are they going to keep pressing, keep getting in receivers' faces and keep the pressure up to make sure that we're having good games in the secondary?
I would say I was more nervous about this matchup before we played the Bengals. But the way that they handled, even with Jamar Chase out of the game, there's still two really, really good receivers there and a tight end in Cincy that can catch the ball. So the way that our secondary handled them, down guys, was impressive. Probably the most impressive defensive effort that I've seen this year. So I actually feel really good about the prospects of Denzel coming back, Greg Newsome, and MJ Emerson, in the mix with these guys.
Yeah, that's fair. So I'd agree. I think that's just something to watch, though. I mean, if they play well, if they play like they have the last few weeks, I think we're gonna do fine. If they revert and play like they did early in the season, it's gonna be a long, long day.
Whatever Joe Woods says, do the opposite.
Yeah. And then my other matchup is going to be Nick Chubb versus this rush defense. And it's a matchup I expect to win, but the reason I put it in there is because Miami is middle of the pack in rushing yards allowed, but they're 24th in rushing touchdowns allowed, and they're abysmal in the red zone, 28th in red zone touchdown percent for opponents. Going into the bye week, the Browns had the most trips to the red zone in the entire league, and Nick Chubb had the most rushing touchdowns. So, I mean, what that spells out to me is it's going to come down to everything we've said all year long, and it's going to come down to can we run the ball and control the clock? And I think that Nick Chubb, he always gets his, but I think we're going to have to really, really rely on him more so than even we have all year and say, we need you to take us home in this one.
Yeah, I don't disagree there. I think this is the matchup to watch because this is how they've been able to play with other teams all year long and to play competitively, and it's ball control, especially when you're playing a good offense, keeping the ball out of their hands. That playing good offense is also good defense. And the Dolphins know that this has been a problem, which is why they addressed it. And brought in Bradley Chubb.
Chubb on Chubb.
So there could be some Chubb on Chubb crime in this game.
Oh, so many Chubbs.
And that's the matchup.
You get a Chubb, and you get a Chubb, and you get a Chubb.
That's the matchup that I'm watching all day long is Chubb on Chubb. And so for my player to watch this week, I'm going Chubb.
Man, we've had dong talk, we've had sack talk, now we're having Chubb talk.
I'm not even going to tell you which Chubb I'm watching, but I'm watching Chubb.
You watch all the Chubbs.
I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, I expect to win that matchup, but it is going to be the matchup that literally decides the game. Is we need a big game. How big is it going to be? So
I was going to say my player to watch was
you changed it. Just you got so into it. You loved the Chubb.
I was going to say Andrew Van Ginkel.
Just get out of town
because he had a kick or an interception return for a touchdown this week.
Okay,
but it's Chubb.
Okay,
Chubb on Chubb.
All right. So as a team, the Dolphins are 6-3 right now. They are second in arguably the toughest division in football. And the Browns, they need to find a way to contain this passing attack. And that's pretty much it on defense. Limit the damage. You got Denzel back. MJ Emerson's been good. And hopefully everybody continues to step up and play well in that secondary and hold these receivers to minimal yardage. Like I said, they'll get some, but hold them to minimal yardage, limit the damage. And then our offense is going to need to build on the momentum that the Cincinnati game created going into the bye. Run the ball, don't turn it over, and win the line of scrimmage.
And when you say run the ball, I would add 20 or more times.
Nick Chubb needs at least 25 carries in this, I would say.
Well, he just needs at least 20 because they don't lose when he gets 20.
That's fair. At least 20, I would say more like 25, but at least 20. And if we're going to have any chance when Watson comes back, we've mentioned it, we've got to win 2 out of the next 3. So we got to find a way to steal one with Buffalo looming. It's going to be either this one or it's going to be Buffalo. We've got to find a way to win one of them.
Well, Buffalo just lost to the Jets, so they're trash.
Okay. That leads to the injury report.
You finally did it, bro.
I did it. It only took us 10 episodes. The Browns are relatively healthy going into this one. The only real injuries that I have of note, Joe Haig was placed on injury reserve in the bye week. He's had a long absence from troubles with concussions, and that's never good when you miss that much time with concussions. So hopefully he's able to come back next year and be good. But I mean, I think this is potentially the season-ending IR if they didn't already designate it as such.
Yeah. For the Dolphins, Trey Flowers is out.
Yeah, do the Dolphins first,
and River Crackcraft.
Phoenix? Oh.
I'll say
RIP. RIP River Phoenix.
The Dolphins had 23 people on their injury report last week.
That's a lot.
But I think they
were all like the minor injuries.
Only one didn't play that wasn't already designated for IR.
That should be illegal. You can't put that many people on your injury report when they're all going to play.
Yeah, there was 23. River Crackcraft was the wide receiver, was the only one that didn't play that wasn't already on the IR.
All right, so that's where we're at with the Dolphins. Like I said, Joe Haig placed on injury reserve. David Njoku, he said he actually came out today and said he plans to play this week, which is pretty impressive, seeing as he had the high ankle sprain, didn't he?
Yeah,
and
he needs to play.
But we'll see if that's actually the case. I would guess that he misses at least one more, but we'll see what they let him do. We know these coaches have a history of letting players try and play through injuries, and we'll see. Last time it didn't work out so well, so we'll see how it works out this time.
I'm not a doctor, and I don't play one on a podcast.
But we mentioned earlier on the good news side of things for injuries, Wyatt Teller and Denzel Ward have returned. Chase Winovich and Jerome Ford on their way as well. Not sure if they play this week, but they're on their way. Player to watch this week. You mentioned yours was Nick Chubb.
No, Chubb. Just Chubb.
Yours is Chubb. Your player to watch is Chubb. It could be any Chubb.
It could be either Chubb. I'm not telling you.
Oh, fun fact. Those guys are cousins. Did you know that?
Chubbtown.
Nick Chubb and Bradley Chubb. Cousins.
Chubb.
You love Chubb. We love Chubb. We love Chubb. We love Chubb. All right. No, my player to watch this week is MJ Emerson. He's going to be playing, we are going to be playing with extra DBs a lot this week because they like to pass the ball. So he's going to be in a lot, even with the return of Denzel Ward. And I just want to see, can he continue to be the impact player that he has been the last few weeks? If he can, I like our chances in this one.
I like MJ a lot.
Me too. So let's go ahead and take a quick break. I know that was fast to get back to another revenue break, but we're going to take a quick revenue break.
Who spaced this out?
My bad. And then we'll be right back to close the show out. Let's zoom in here for the video version. Yeah, very nice.
Can you put it? Nope.
I can't move the camera. I can just zoom the camera. All right, so there we are. Towpath Bourbon, a true craft. Oh, crap. Hold, please. You're going to have to. You can leave this if you want. I pulled up the wrong ad, guys.
You what?
I had the wrong ad in there.
Towpath. I'll sing a jaunty tune while you get it right.
No. I'm ready.
Towpath
Hold it up.
Bourbon. It's delicious.
Towpath Bourbon, made from corn, barley, and just the right amount of rye. This blended straight bourbon whiskey is designed for the real bourbon lover. Intense notes of maple, cinnamon, vanilla, and oats hit you up front. Rich and intense, yet balanced all the way through with a strong and lingering finish. Great by itself, on the rocks, or in a Manhattan. I take mine neat. Towpath Bourbon. Go on and get some. Very nice. Very nice job, Kenny. All right, so sorry about the delay there. Let's go ahead and get into King of the North. So epic. Let's remind everybody of the tally to this point.
Sure.
Your favorite part of the show. So far for this week's games, we are both 1-0. We picked the Bengals-Panthers game right. As we mentioned earlier, the Baltimore Ravens play tonight. They're actually playing right now, so we'll update.
Why is that not on, by the way?
I don't know. I forgot to turn the TV on. Bad job out of me. So they're playing right now. We'll update that score next week. But as it sits currently, I have a record of 18-10. Kenny, what's your record?
I'm above 500.
He's 15-13 and losing to me. So that leads us to the predictions for this week's games. Another. Anyways, another shorthanded week here with both Baltimore and Cincinnati on bye. But we have New Orleans at Pittsburgh. Who you got in this one, Kenny?
I think Cincinnati and Baltimore will both win.
They're not going to lose.
Well, we go.
They won't win either, though. So if that's what you want to go with, you could take some more losses.
No, you'll take the loss because you're not picking them. This is how I catch up. New Orleans at Pittsburgh.
Yes.
I wish we could be watching the New Orleans-Baltimore game right now, but Pittsburgh is trash. And nothing looks good there. They just traded their best receiver. Najee looks lost. I don't know if you saw the play.
Well, he's not Nick Chubb. He can't just carry the team.
I don't know if you saw the play where they threw him like a bubble pass, and there was no one in front of him for 7 or 8 yards, and he just kind of danced and pirouetted.
They threw him a bubble pass, and he looked like he was wrapped in bubble wrap.
And he just stood there until they came and tackled him. He didn't get any yards on the play.
Please tackle me. I do not want to score.
Pittsburgh loses this game just by default. It'll probably be a closer game than others, but it's not even because New Orleans is good. Pittsburgh is just bad.
I feel really bad that you learned your lesson earlier when you picked the Steelers one time. So here's the deal. New Orleans lost to the Panthers and the Buccaneers, who are both bad. But they did beat the Seahawks. And that alone gives me enough confidence to pick New Orleans over the trash Steelers.
Fair.
Because they're really bad. But I will say this. I think this is going to be a close game, and I think it's going to be very low scoring. The old Red Rocket and sees his old AFC North foes again in the Steelers, and it's just going to be a pick fest.
So many pickets.
So many pickets for both sides. So yeah, I've got New Orleans winning as well. And then Browns at Miami. You want me to start? You want to go?
Why don't you start?
All right, so here it is. We've been saying it the entire show. They got to have this one. We got to win 2 out of the next 3 games in order to give Deshaun Watson a chance when he comes back. I'm not even going to delay it. I'm feeling it. We humped the Bengals, man. We won big. I think we actually keep the season alive here. The secondary plays well. Nick Chubb does Nick Chubb things, and we win by 2. 23-21 Browns. Boom! Do you like that?
You changed your pick, man.
I know. I tried to throw you off in the show notes.
You did throw me off.
You like that? He's flabbergasted. Doesn't know what to say right now.
I was just trying to figure out how you were going to get to the Browns losing based on everything you were saying.
I tricked you.
You did trick me. Here's the thing.
He's with me.
I feel it too.
Yeah.
I feel it too. I don't know that the season is saved just yet. I do think there's enough momentum coming out of the Cincinnati game on Monday night.
I'm so excited that your faith has been renewed a little bit.
The team is healthy for the first time in a few weeks.
Yeah.
Getting guys back. And look, we've been saying this all year. The Browns aren't losing games because teams are better than them or teams are outplaying them. The Browns have, by and large, beat themselves. And if they can eliminate those mental mistakes and just do what they've already been doing, they can win football games.
Oh, yeah.
I think
so far this season, they're not a bad football team. They've just been bad at winning games.
Yes. And that sounds really stupid, but it's the truth.
It is the truth.
It's the truth. And I really do think that this combination of taking care of the football and leveraging to their optimum capacity on offense, Amari Cooper, David Njoku, Nick Chubb, like you don't need a whole lot else than that. Like you don't need 3 number 1 wide receivers. They can beat teams with those guys.
Yep.
And the offensive line is getting healthy. That offensive line is still one of the best in the league. And if they just let Nick Chubb tote the rock 20 or more times, I think they can win. I think that defensive backfield can match up. Look, Miami's going to get they're going to get their gash plays. There's going to be 1 or 2 balls that go over someone's head.
With an offense that explosive, it's almost impossible not to.
It's going to happen, right? But can they limit it enough? And I think that they have the personnel to do it.
Yeah.
So I do think I think this is a close game, like you said. I think it's probably a more high-scoring affair. I think it's probably a 30-28 type game.
That's fair.
30-27 type game. But yeah, I think the Browns win a game this week.
My man. Yeah. Now, I think another thing to add here, I think coming out of the bye that Kevin Stefanik has learned his lesson, or at least I pray and hope he has, and Nick Chubb gets 20 carries, averages 20 carries a game the rest of the season. So.
At least until Deshaun comes back.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. All right, so you know what it's time for?
What's it time for?
For the land. The Cleveland Cavaliers. I sound like the guy in the arena.
You're just our own personal soundboard now.
Yeah. They've won 8 in a row, man. They lost their first game and haven't lost since.
They're really good.
Yeah.
They're fun to watch.
They are fun to watch. It's a complete team, too. Like, it's not. Do you remember? It's funny. This is a good segue. You remember when LeBron was here, especially the first stint, and it was just give the ball to LeBron, everybody kind of clears out, and it was the LeBron offense, and it was really boring to watch. It's like the complete opposite now. It's a full team. They pass the ball around. Everybody gets involved. It's just great basketball that we're watching, and it's fun. And speaking of LeBron, over the weekend, that was one of the games that the Cavs won. They beat LeBron in L.A. Not in L.A. and L.A.
I was going to say
and
they were here
and L.A.
Yeah,
not in L.A. And I bet LeBron is sitting there like, damn, too bad I went to LA, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think it brings up a really interesting question with the Lakers being 2-7.
Yeah, well, and before you ask the question, LeBron actually said, they asked him about the Cavs, and he said, man, they've really done this thing right. They're looking good over here.
So that being said, would you take LeBron back?
No, absolutely not.
Absolutely not?
Absolutely not. This team is young. They're talented. And they're a complete team that plays well together. A ton of chemistry, just all kinds of stuff going on. That, no offense to LeBron, in my opinion, and I love Michael Jordan as well, but in my opinion, LeBron is the greatest player of all time. Do I want him on the Cavaliers with the team we have now at this stage in his career? Absolutely not. Because what it's going to take to get him here is going to wreck our team. Completely wreck it. And what are you trading? You're trading probably 5, 6, 7 good years with how young this team is and how long most of them are signed for what? One maybe good year with LeBron. And to do it, you're going to have to bring in his kids.
But if you brought LeBron into this team, would it guarantee you a championship this year?
No, because again, what you're going to have to give up in return to trade for LeBron from the Lakers, I think we actually go from I think we're going to be the number 1 seed in the East at the end of the year. I think we go from the number 1 seed to like 6, 7, 8, maybe even missing the playoffs.
You don't think
maybe even missing the playoffs?
You don't think we could just trade Isaac Okoro straight up?
No. Listen, like I said, I love LeBron James. I appreciate everything he did for the city of Cleveland. I appreciate everything he does for the city of Akron, which we're both from. But at this point in his career, I do not want him, considering what it would take to get him.
Yeah, I agree. I think you'd have to give up too much to get him. I think the more interesting question is, what if he retired in LA and wanted to just re-sign with the Cavs, and they worked out one of those? Like, would you want him?
I'd be on board for that. If we didn't have to give anything up for him.
If you gave up nothing and he came back.
I'd give if
you don't worry about the team chemistry at all?
No, because I really do think that as much of an ego as LeBron has, I think at that point when it's really just a send-off more than anything and kind of a love fest for the last year of his career. 'Cause he would sign in your fantasy scenario that you just threw out here, he would sign for 1 year.
Look, I think this is reasonable. I think he retires from the Lakers right now and goes. He's
right now, mid-season, he
pulls a Michael Jordan and he says, "I'm going to go play
baseball,
professional pickleball."
Ooh, up and coming sport.
He does that for the next 4 months, and then after the All-Star break, he's like, "I'm not going to do this pickleball thing anymore. I want to play in the NBA till I can't anymore," and he comes back. It seems totally feasible to me.
I mean, maybe, but if we have to give anything up for him in our young core, I would say no.
It does feel like we're past the point of LeBron being on your team. I mean, clearly just based on the last couple of years. LeBron being on your team is not a cheat code to getting even into the playoffs at this point.
No, well, and I'll say even more so with LA than any other team he's been with. That team is just decimated in order to keep paying him and Anthony Davis. And they just can't.
What a disaster! They
can't do anything outside.
They can't get out of their own way out there.
And think of the young talent that they traded away to get Russell Westbrook over there, who is completely washed.
Nothing. Yeah.
Completely washed.
And Anthony Davis can't get on the court.
True. So yeah, I mean it's tough times out there for the Lakers, but
I don't feel bad for him.
No. And
I kind of and look,
the weather's great in LA.
Grateful for LeBron and bringing us the championship, but
yeah, we're not talking bad about LeBron at all. We just both.
Well,
said
I was just gonna say
LeBron.
I kind of you kind of deserve that at the end.
Well, I mean, for bounce, I will say the one thing that I haven't liked throughout his career is the bouncing around. I wish he would have just stayed a Cavalier. Like even if he would have been on the Lakers right now at this point in his career, but he had been a Cavalier the whole time before this, I would have loved him so much more.
Right. And he probably would have had the same amount of championships.
Probably. But anyways, speaking of our number one guy, Donovan Mitchell continues to put up huge numbers. He is currently averaging over 31 points per game on over 60% shooting on the season.
Yeah.
It's just unreal.
I mean,
way better than advertised.
Straight up video game numbers. How sustainable that is, I don't know. But if it's anywhere close to that.
Man, the way they play off, the way that our offense plays, I think it's absolutely sustainable for the whole year because they, like I said, they pass the ball around. Darius Garland is a great number 2 option. And yeah.
It's just so refreshing and exciting to have a Cavs team that's good without LeBron.
Yes,
just because of all of the drama and everything.
And some of it's not even his fault. It's just the fact that he's LeBron James.
Because he's so big. He's so much bigger than life.
He's a global superstar.
Yeah.
I agree with you. It's nice to be able to. We kind of fly under the radar and just like.
It'd be like having Keanu Reeves on your team. People would be like, I got to see this guy.
Yeah. I say that anytime Keanu Reeves is in anything.
He's the one.
He is the one. Neo. Get the. Yeah. All right, Kenny. So let's close this thing out. What can we expect next week?
What can we expect next week? I'll tell you what not to expect next week.
What can we not expect next week?
Another State of the Union Browns address.
Just State of the Browns address.
State of the Browns Unionized
football team address.
Jake Paul's.
They are in a union.
MMA union.
Anyways, we can't expect another one of those. But what can we expect?
But what we can expect is a Week 10 recap. Browns, Dolphins, hopefully celebrating a big Browns win.
Let's go!
Week 11 preview. Big game coming up the following week against the Bills.
You mentioned the Bills. I almost forgot it earlier. Josh Allen is currently being evaluated for a dreaded CL. It's the UCL in his elbow.
He got banged up on the arm.
He got banged on the arm.
He got banged on the arm.
His arm got banged.
And yeah. I mean,
don't get me wrong. I know everybody's going to be like, oh, I want to beat them at full strength. I don't. I hope Josh Allen does not play.
Who is their backup, by the way?
Josh Allen's so good that they don't even carry a backup. They just have nobody on the roster. Okay, that's false information. That was
true.
That was fake news I just threw out there. But yeah, I mean, I don't know who their backup is.
That can't be true.
Who is it?
Barkley. Oh, it's Case Keenum. It's Case Keenum and Barkley.
I laughed so hard at Barkley. I lost my headphones. Oh man, Barkley.
So they do have Case Keenum and Matt Barkley. So
Case Keenum. Oh.
Two guys that
I bet they play Case Keenum.
Have won a game or two in the NFL.
I bet they play Case Keenum. If Josh Allen can't go.
Probably. Depends on the weather.
I hope they play Case Keenum anyways.
Keenum is 34, and when it gets cold out, his joints don't work so great.
Oh, back in 63 when I played.
So anyway, we're going to preview the Browns-Bills game. So a big 2 weeks with two premier
monster
football
games.
Teams.
Should have both been in prime time. What the hell are they thinking?
Yeah, it's too early in the season.
We're
to
3 and
flex
5
games, but that's probably the reason why. But yeah, so that's what we're gonna do next week on the Burning River Sportscast, presented by Tappan Media. Burning River.
Speaking of Tappan Media, you can find them on social media, Facebook and Twitter at the Tap In Media, and on Instagram at Tap In Media Official. And you can find us, Burning River Sportscast, on Facebook, Instagram, and now on TikTok at Burning River Sportscast, and on Twitter at Burning River Pod. You can also find us on YouTube, get the video versions of this podcast, by searching Burning River Sportscast. You know where you can find our podcast?
Where?
Do you want to know?
Wherever you find your podcast?
Wherever you find your podcast. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Pocket Cast, Castro, and more.
You know,
fun fact,
lobsters don't actually die of old age. They die of exhaustion.
Dang.
They just reach a certain point. Kind of like working with you. They reach a certain point where they're just like, I can't go on anymore. I can't live anymore. Do this. I can't.
You said kind of like working with me. Does that make me? Am I
a lobster?
I was trying to give you a segue. Am I part of the problem?
You are part of the problem, but I'm not there yet.
Keep going.
Lobsters.
There's so many lobster facts.
Can technically live forever if they didn't get so exhausted.
That's incredible.
Lobsters also will cannibalize, have been known to cannibalize each other.
Oh, yeah, that's a real thing.
So you should never feel bad about eating a delicious lobster.
I thought you were going somewhere else.
Because, you throw the live lobster.
I thought Kenny Thunder was just going to tell us you should never feel bad about cannibalism, but...
You feel bad when you put the live animal in the boiling pot of water and it's cling, 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 banging, trying to get out, and you're like, it's a rough way to go, man. But if you didn't do that, he was going to eat his brother.
Mercy.
And he was just going to do it for all eternity because he doesn't die until he gets really, really tired. Which is a problem. So don't be a part of the problem, be the whole problem.
And only you can prevent river fires.
Burning River!
Burning River!
Burning River! Burning River!
Burning River out.
Burning River! J-Lo's Rumpus.